Well, hello, East Texas. I'm Jesus Martinez. Today we hear from Texas Agricultural Commissioner Sid Miller on some of the most pressing issues facing the state of Texas today, from water conservation to the future of THC and so much more. Here to join us, of course, is the Commissioner. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Good to be with you.
Of course. So first off, the Biden administration recently proposed a list of monarch butterflies to be on the threatened list of endangered animals. How does this affect Texas agriculture, and what's your stance on it?
Well, it's government. They have a solution. They're looking for a problem. What they're wanting to do here won't affect the monarch butterfly one bit, and it affects about a third of the total United States land area. So if this goes into effect, we won't be able to do anything to the land other than what we can't even mow it because you're disturbing their habitat. You can't build football stadiums, rural hospitals, no more develop, no solar farms, no wind farms. You can't break out any new ground to farm, no oil and gas exploration. I mean, it just shuts everything down. The problem with the monarch butterfly is not the United States, it's Mexico. They overwinter in a very specific geographical region east of Mexico City in these very special fir trees. The problem is that particular forest where they overwinter, there's only 2% of it left. It's been deforestation has wiped it out. So if you want to help the monarch butterfly, go plant some more fir trees. That's the problem. We're not the problem.
So I guess here in Texas, it seems like the monarch butterfly, if I'm hearing correctly, doesn't have much of an impact on the agricultural life in Texas, correct?
No, we all love monarch butterflies. Everybody wants to see them flourish and thrive, but doing what they're proposing here does nothing to help that. You need to restore their habitat that's gone.
Well, now moving on over to a different topic with the Trump administration coming into office next month. What rules or regulations do you hope the new Trump administration will bring in for Texas agricultural life, for them to grow more cattle, more produce, and so forth?
Well, we don't really want more regulation. We'd like to get the government's, boot off our neck. That's the problem. It's caused a spike in input prices. The biggest problem that with the Biden administration, we've lost all of our customers. For the first time in history, at least that I know of, we're going to buy more food than we export. We're going to buy $45 billion more food than we export. Now, America, we've always been known as the breadbasket of the world. We grow enough for ourselves and feed everybody else. That has been reversed under this administration. So I'm excited about Trump using the tariffs to get our trading partners back. That's going to be a good thing to get him back in there. We had the most profitable 2 years ever in agriculture under Donald Trump. So I'm looking for those days to return, and the sooner the better.
Speaking of money, what subsidies or grants can we expect from this new administration for Texas agriculturers?
Well, we really don't have subsidies for agriculture anymore. We've, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we went to crop insurance. So we need to tweak that, especially in the new farm bill. There's other programs that we utilize to keep the farmer in business. Huge disasters. We had the hurricane up in North Carolina. Those farmers need a little help getting back on their feet. Recently, just a year and a half ago, we had the big fires in the Texas Panhandle. So sometimes when those natural disasters come into play, we need to go in and make sure the farmers don't go out of business.
And Commissioner, earlier you mentioned we've been buying more food than exporting. What steps do we need to take now to switch that around, export more than we're buying?
Well, the USDA has been so focused on climate and climate change that they haven't been focused on exports. So we get back off the climate agenda, we get back on conservation, we get back on marketing agriculture products. So that'd be the first thing that I'm going to recommend that Donald Trump do is get our old customers back, and then let's go find some new ones on top of that.
Commissioner, I know, of course, at the root of agricultural life is water. Recently, you greenlit an issue to where farmers can tap into the Rio Grande River and use that water for irrigation. What's the latest on that effort?
Well, about 2 weeks ago, the farmers started irrigating out of the Rio Grande. And of course, I had to intervene. Government gets bogged down. Sometimes somebody has to go in there and be a little bit of a disruptor. So we did that. It worked out great. We got the dialogue going with Mexico. They actually gave us some water to pay on their water bill, the water treaty that they owe us. So everybody got something out of it. So It's not a long-term solution, but it gets us, to the next growing season, and that's what I'm interested in, keeping those farmers in business.
So explain to us a little bit more about how that works. How do you manage who gets X amount of water or someone's not getting more water than they should for their farmland?
Well, that is dictated by the irrigation districts in that area. They allocate it. They actually bring it to the cities and to the farmers. So it's all divided up in water districts.
And so from those farmers down, especially down by the border, what have you heard from them? Has this helped so far?
Well, they're very grateful because normally they would plant 4, 5, 6 vegetable crops. They'd had enough water to plant one crop. You can't stay in business like that. We had just closed our last sugarcane processing plant. There's no more sugarcane in Texas. We didn't have enough water to grow the sugarcane, so we had to stop. We pushed out 6,000 acres of citrus trees. Not enough water to keep the trees alive. So it's getting critical in the Rio Grande Valley.
You mentioned this is a short-term issue for a long-term problem. What is a long-term answer to this problem?
Well, we have to address it. Our biggest issue is infrastructure. Our infrastructure is out of date. The large cities lose 30% of their water from the time they get it to the customer. They lose 30. We can't lose 30% of our water. So we need to replace bad infrastructure. We need to do rainwater harvesting off some of these large buildings. We need to do off-channel storage on some of our major rivers. So when it does get dry, our farmers still have irrigation water. We don't have to lose all of our rice production like we did in the Katy Prairie. We can use water smart plants. Now we have technologies allowing us to use desal at a rate that we can afford. So there's a multiple prong approach we can do a better job of managing our water across the state.
And we know a lot of people are moving to the state of Texas year by year. What can Texans do now to conserve water for the next 10, 20, the next generation even?
Well, you said it. We still have over 1,000 people moving into Texas. A lot of them from California, and the problem is they don't bring any water with them, so we're running out. Just the average homeowner can use a little cowboy logic. Plant water smart plants, like instead of St. Augustine, which uses a tremendous amount of water, maybe put in buffalo grass or a hybrid Bermuda, uses half the water. Instead of putting in plants that need a lot of water, use some Texas natives. I mean, they get by with no supplemental water. And we have some beautiful ones. You can have a nice looking landscape. Doesn't have to look like a desert, but by just using plants and grasses that don't use quite as much water. And harvest the rainwater off your house and use it for irrigation and watering and growing your garden and, just conserve.
Where do you see the water conservation efforts being 10 years from now in Texas? Are we going to be in the same state, improvements, or is it going to look a little worse? Well,
since we're out of water and we're just now figuring out that we're out of water, it's going to be quite different 10 years from now. The technology will be there. We'll be much better managers of our water resources. We have to be. We don't have a choice.
Awesome. So now let's talk about THC. In a recent interview with our sister station in Austin, KVU, you seem to disagree with Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick on his stance on THC. I want to ask you today, what is your stance on THC in Texas?
Well, I don't think we need to ban it altogether because I've been a big supporter of medicinal use. And so we don't want to take that away from people. It helps people with cancer, PTSD, glaucoma, I mean, you name it. And we have the research now to prove that up. So we don't want to completely ban it, but what has happened, we've had products come on the market that weren't there when we passed the laws. So we've got products like Delta 8, Delta 9, which have the effects of full-strength THC. And the problem is there's no regulation. So second and third graders are bringing gummies to school, not even knowing what they are. They get their hands on them, and we've got to stop that. I certainly agree with Dan Patrick on that. At the minimum, we need to put some age restrictions on it. We have over 8,000 of these smoke shops across the state now, and basically they're unregulated.
In an ideal world for you, an ideal Texas, what would be certain regulations you'd like to see in place? I know you mentioned some a little bit more, but if you can expand on them. Who can get them and what for exactly and at what age?
Yeah, well, I mean, just use a little cowboy logic. The less regulation, the better. I mean, the less government, the better. So maybe just an age restriction to start with, and let's go from there and see if we still have problems, we can come back and revisit it.
There we go. Commissioner, anything else worth mentioning or adding that we didn't talk about today?
I would like to talk about our agri-stress helpline. It's centered here in Tyler. It's a mental health helpline for people in rural Texas and rural America. We have a suicide hotline, 988, but they don't really know how to talk to a farmer. The two occupations with the highest rate of suicide, and I'm sad to say this, are veterans and farmers. So a farmer's kind of hard to reach. They have special needs. It's maybe somebody in New York City on the telephone can't quite get them there. But my people have 300 hours of training how to specifically help farmers and ranchers and people that live in rural Texas. So it's Agri-Stress Helpline. If you know someone, have them just put it in your phone, Agri-Stress Helpline, and it'll pop right up, and we'll get you some help and get you through the rough times.
Sounds good. We'll make sure to put that link on our website as well. Commissioner, thank you so much.
Thank you.